Support for the Working Theory podcast is provided by you. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you find us, and don't forget to share Working Theory with a friend. Thank you and enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Working Theory podcast. My name is JP, and I'm sharing the stage today with my good friend here, Nick, and our off-screen guest, Ty. I hope that you guys are having a wonderful day, and this is going to be kind of our entry-level podcast, if you will. So we're going to introduce ourselves a little bit, and we'll get to the brass tacks of it. Nick, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So, hi guys, my name's Nick, 28 years old, lifelong resident of Mass here. Currently working as a Lyft driver. I've been in journalism in the past. I don't know, I was a theater kid when I grew up. I'm tall enough to be an NBA player. Didn't quite figure that one out. But yeah, excited to be a part of this. Excited to still be getting to know these guys. I'm the newest to the friend group here, you would say. But excited to be a part of it, and just really looking forward to getting things going here.
Ty, you want to introduce yourself a little bit as the off-camera guest?
I would love to. Just like the Wizard of Oz, I'm the man behind the curtain. Lifelong New England resident, local conspiracy theorist. Throughout this podcast, we'll be diving into a lot of topics, modern day, stuff in the past, maybe stuff in the future. All I ask is that everybody keeps an open mind, and we grow together and have some good conversations.
My name is JP. I have a background right out of high school, went to the fire service. I was a third-generation firefighter, and then transitioned to the police service, and now I am a self-employed property manager, own my own property management firm here in Massachusetts. So it has been a roller coaster so far, and I'm just excited to see what the future has. I've got a decent amount of background and stuff to have some fun conversations. So I think that the three of us here are going to be able to provide you guys with ample entertainment, if you will. So one of the big things that we want to talk about is the name Working Theory. It was kind of a concept that the three of us came up with together. And, you know, why don't you start us off with that, Ty? What does Working Theory mean to you?
So what I take as is we're just three dudes working, and we like to have good conversations. A lot of them, some theories. On my end, I'm going to be talking mostly about conspiracy theories, and the fact is a lot of that stuff has been coming true lately. A lot of that stuff has been popping up in the media. I'll be diving into a lot of that stuff, as I said earlier, but to me, it just means, simply we're just three dudes having conversations and, getting our thoughts out there and want to engage the public. And hey, who knows, maybe throughout the course, open up a couple minds, make people think the way, like we think, not one way or the other. I'm not saying we're going to try to convince people to think a certain way. I'm just saying, have everybody eventually have an open mind and to use the info that they get and to make their own conclusions and determinations about stuff.
Right. I think that's so important because especially in today's day and age, it's always like people are so one way or the other, right? You start talking with somebody, I'm sure that you see it all the time in rideshare, where you have a passenger and all of a sudden you get into a conversation, they bring up a hard line where this is, they say something to the extent of, this is what I believe, and if anybody thinks differently, they're wrong, and I can't be their friend, right?
And I just smile and nod. Either way, whether I agree with it or not, I'm just, because the ride's not long enough for me to get into it. But like a lot of the time, that's kind of the easiest thing to do is just like, okay, yeah, because again, you don't want to hurt a friendship, you don't want to lose a connection, so you just kind of say, all right, you do that, I'll do my thing,
and you don't want to lose a tip.
Very important,
right?
Very important. But, and I think, for my part, I do, when I think about that Working Theory name, for me, the biggest thing is that idea of like, it's never final. You know what I mean? It's always in progress. It's always an ongoing conversation. When these episodes end, the conversation is not over. You know what I mean? There's still more to think about, more to be had. I mean, the three of us are not going to agree on every single, I mean? And I think
I never should.
Yeah. I think that's going to be important for people to see. I don't know, maybe like even more than trying to, like Ty was saying, get people on board with anything we believe. I almost feel like if we can just show people how to disagree, that's the best thing we can do. You know what I mean?
100% right.
And let people figure out how they want to come to their own conclusions. But yeah, I think it's always almost like a work in progress. It's always just a working theory. Like, this is all we have for now. But it's never the last word on anything.
Here's everything on the table, and you do with it what you please.
Right.
Here are all the cards. You make your move.
Right.
Yeah, and that's how it should be. Working back to what you said, I don't think that anybody should agree with anybody else 100% ever.
Right.
I think that is such a dangerous mindset, and it's like, as humans, we want to, like, we want that cohesion where, like, it's the tribalism stuff.
Yeah.
Where we're around the people who make us feel heard, or, you know, who agree with us as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But that's almost where we've been for so long, to where it's led us to such a scary place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't think that, I don't know. I mean, if you look back in time, there's always been open debate, and there's always been back and forth. And we haven't had that for very long, because everybody's kind of gone to their own secular, you know, paths, and it just doesn't seem sustainable.
Yeah. No, totally. And I mean, part of, I know we don't want to make this exclusively political podcast.
No, I don't even think any of that's political.
No. Well, all I mean to say is, for my own, in terms of politics, a big part of my own story, and I'm sure something that will come up a lot over the course of these episodes, is I grew up in a very liberal environment, Democrat Party sort of family, and just as I've gotten, not even older, not that I'm old, right, but just over time, I've come to shift that perspective a little bit and see things, I guess I would say, through a bit of a more conservative lens. And again, not that that's everything, not that I adopt any sort of party line. I don't let people tell me, you know, what I believe. I go out and I look and I come to my own conclusions. But that's been a big part of my own thing, is being willing to say, okay, this is the stuff I grew up with. This is what I used to think was true and what I have believed. And now this is how different experiences, different people I've met, whatever, has shaped that and reformed that, and, you know, brought me something else.
It's almost like that Shane Gillis skit that he just did. They did the early onset Republican. You know, I find myself watching World War II documentaries.
Yeah.
And not to beat a dead horse, but to have the conversations and not, you know, not just base it off of anything and ignore people, and just sit down, have the conversation, actually talk, and not just have a one-sided or you know.
Well,
I think that's what's missing, is people can't have civil conversations. It's always got to go a certain way, or it's always got to end a certain way. And it's like, the whole point of having a conversation is to, let's both talk. Whether you agree or disagree, you know, it's not supposed to go a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, that's the biggest problem that I see.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's political, whether it's about food, whether it's about,
Sure.
you know, anything.
You and I had talked about doing something like this for a long time. And then it's funny that since Nick and I became friends through our social circles, he, you know, I forget who called who, but we get on the phone the same day, and I'm like, hey, have you ever thought about doing a podcast? And he's like, dude, that's literally what I was just saying. Right. And so it was just kind of one of those perfect storms where here we are. And one of the big things that we talked about during that conversation, which you and I had spoken about before in length, was let's be the platform where we can have the conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Where it's okay to disagree, like, because once again, you should have disagreements. Disagreements are healthy.
Yeah.
Hate isn't healthy.
Yeah.
You know, there's no room for hate, but being the platform where we can have that conversation, I think will do wonders, not only for us, just for our own personal well-being, but for any of the viewers.
Sure.
Right.
Or listeners.
Yeah. No, and it's crazy how it goes to hate. You know what I mean? How that's sort of become the default response. And
Where did that come from, by the way? What happened?
Well, I think it goes back to the whole, you know, pick a side. You have to be one side or the other.
Yeah, it's the tribal stuff.
And if someone doesn't agree with you, hate them. You know, don't make sure that you get the last word. You know, if they're, it always, well, it hasn't always been like that, but it kind of turned into, you know, you're the one side or the other, and that's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you're an idiot, or it turns into, if you're not on my side, you're everything in the book besides a civil human being.
I just think that we should be over that by now.
It
blows my mind. The amount of wasted energy that we have on hating people because they believe one way or the other. It's like, why not be friends?
Yeah.
you know, you can be friends and have disagreements. We're all friends, and we all probably have multiple things we can talk about right now that we disagree with.
We get into it,
Yeah.
you know, a couple times a week.
Right. Yeah. The two of us can have conversations like, well, no, you're an idiot.
Yeah, we get into it. But,
And that's the thing. I do it too. You know, like I'm out driving all the time, and I'll see someone holding up a sign for something that I don't agree with, and the instinct is like to flip them off. You know, and it's like, what does that accomplish? What does that?
Right.
Who is helped by that? How do you expect to? And again, this is something when you talk about politics, I see both sides make me mad, because it's like, even if you are right, or even if you think you're right about XYZ issue, how is the way that you're presenting that going to convince anyone or reach anyone who doesn't already, you know what I mean? Like, I'm all for, there's times and places where you just need to reach your base and whatever, you're talking to people who already agree with you. But if you ever want to successfully change minds, like, how do you expect, just strategically, the way that you're talking, the way that you're whatever, to work to do that? You know what I mean? Right. It's not, yeah.
So overall, I think it's safe to say that, like, we will talk politics, but we're not a political only show. We're a politics only for sure. We'll talk conspiracies, but we're not going to be reckless with it.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is not to push people to one side or the other. It's just to kind of discuss it, and like we said, be that
get people to
that
look at
motive.
minds,
Right.
Not look at it from one view or the other, just to look at it as a whole.
Well, actually, I'm happy you said that, because another big thing that we want to do is we've got to criticize both sides.
For sure.
You know, you have to look at everything by there's the truth, there's his story, her story, and what really happened, or vice versa. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
So we've got to be impartial. And when we're wrong, which there will be a time in the life of this podcast that we are wrong,
Mm-hmm.
we will admit it.
Yeah.
And you know, which we're human. Humans make mistakes. Humans make errors.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's kind of where I think that we should leave that little segment, at least, of introducing ourselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I had the idea of, and let me know if you guys like this idea, I think that we should have the working theory scoring index.
Okay.
I spoke briefly with you about it, Ty.
Okay, yeah.
And I think I brought it up to you briefly. So this would be where every episode we have something that we review. Maybe not the first episode, because we'll still be learning how to walk like we are right now.
Yeah. Right.
And I apologize to the viewers that
You're watching this in real time.
yeah, listen, today has been that's a story for another show.
Yeah. Yeah.
But long story short, I think that would be a really fun segment for us to have, where,
For sure.
you know, we have something, whether it's a product or a video or a topic, that we can kind of do a review, and we can work together to build a scoring index of, you know, a couple 1 to 10s that have the, you know, the average or whatever.
Sure.
I think that would be a really fun thing.
Yeah.
As far as moving forward, obviously this is episode 0, so we're not gonna have this be a typical length episode. This is more for you guys to get to know us.
Mm-hmm.
Typically what we're going to try to aim for is going to be 60 to 120 minutes,
Yeah.
like we were talking about, an hour and a half. And we'd like to get guests on that you guys want to see. Obviously, we are right now not a huge show,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
but someday we will be. In the meantime, we're based in New England, and we'd like to try to get some New England guests on. So anybody that you guys know or like to see on the show in the future, please leave in the comments below, because we'd love to try to, you know, cater our show to you guys as best we can. And yeah, as far as everything else is concerned, we want to just create a listenable and viewable show. So Nick, who do you think that this really is a good show for?
Yeah. So, I mean, ideally the easy answer is everybody, right? But I don't know. I think we're 3 younger guys. We're only going to be able to give our own perspective, so it is just naturally going to be a younger male perspective on a lot of issues. I'm sure we'll have, you know, men, women, old, young, all sorts of people on as guests again,
Right.
to introduce their perspectives as well.
Of course.
The biggest thing is I want to make sure that it's a podcast that, again, people who don't agree with us can still listen to and enjoy it. So if anything, I think it might even be for, I don't know, again, I'm talking about conspiracy theories, people who might not usually dive into those, you know, like this can be a podcast that people can feel comfortable listening to, just to hear that other side. To I'm not huge on the first and really only conspiracy theory I've gotten huge into is who killed Kurt Cobain. That's about as far as I
all I gotta say is buckle up, because I got a list. I got a bunch of stuff. But it's not. Again, I'm not going to try to convince people. I'm just going to make it. My goal is to have people, after they listen, they're like, well, wait a minute. That makes a little too much sense.
And I have had a few of those moments already, for sure. Like, just as
You had one of those moments today. Well, I was out running around, getting the last minute stuff. I'm showing him because I had to delete I had to delete a bunch of stuff off my phone, having enough storage just to film this, because, spoiler alert, one of my phones is the cameras that you're watching us from. So I had to delete a bunch of saved stuff, and we were going through it. I'm showing Nick one of the videos that I had saved about, conspiracy theories. One of them that didn't get deleted. And he was like, they had me right up until that.
It was a 3-minute video, about a minute and a half in. It was, I said, you know what? I think they might have lost me. But
Okay. Challenge accepted.
But there are definitely plenty of other things that get me thinking and get me wondering, for sure. So it's a good thing. It's an important thing. And I want to, again, like you were saying, have my own mind open to a lot of different things. So that didn't answer your question, but that's just no. But
I think that you're spot on though. You're right. Like, we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves in any way. I think that, and I really like what you said about, we want this to be a podcast where even people that don't necessarily agree with us still want to watch it.
Yeah.
Right. Which sounds so silly, because why would you want the other? But we want them to be engaged enough to say, hey, I'll go on there, I'll debate that.
Right.
Or I'll come on, not even debate, but come out of the guests and say, hey, this is what you got wrong, and this is who I am.
Mom, I want you to like this podcast, and not just because I'm on. That's the goal.
I want to meet Ma. Let's go. Come on. But no, I think that we have a really good chance to do a really good thing here, and we're still learning how to walk. So please bear with us. If you could just, do us all a real solid favor, like, comment, subscribe, share this with everybody and help us grow it. I mean,
and stick with us. Buy early, buy low. We're going to the moon.
Exactly.
Just hang on. We'll get there.
Speaking about the moon, I'm kidding. I'm going to save that for a day. Some of you might have picked up where that was going. I'm going to save that.
Well, thank you guys for watching the very first episode 0 of Working Theory. And we were honored to have you here as our first guest. And I can't wait to see where this stuff goes. Does anybody have anything to say closing comments? Nick?
Again, just rest in peace, Kurt Cobain. We're going to figure it out. We haven't forgot about you.
Oh, boy. Kai?
Thank you for tuning in. And all I'm going to say is keep that mind open.
I hope you beautiful souls have a lovely day. All righty, guys. Thank you. Have a good day.